Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. On today's show, we are joined by Jason Wilson, the president of the Kentucky Automobile Dealers Association, to give us his perspective on the new tariffs that went into effect in early April. This is crazy time, right, Jason? We've seen this before with COVID. Dealers are trying to figure out which way is up. So what are you seeing from your perspective on this tariff situation? I bet you're fielding calls all day long from dealers that are concerned, to say the least, right?
Yeah, Jim, it is a lot, as you say, crazy times right now, and frankly, unprecedented times. But it feels like we just said that a few years ago, as you referenced COVID. So I think the one thing that we know about car dealers is they're resilient. They always find a way, and they get creative and figure things out in tough times. And I think that's sort of what we're seeing now. Interestingly enough, I had a dealer luncheon a week ago. Just as this was getting started here, and a good group of Lexington area dealers of different sizes and whatnot. And obviously our conversation really centered around this. And while there are concerns as it relates to, price increases, again, the average new car vehicle price right now is around $50,000. You factor in what that does to a car payment, higher interest rates, all that goes with it, right? So while there are concerns, there's also a greater understanding of the need to change things, that the trade deficits that we have and the things as they stand today cannot go on forever. It's a combination of that feeling. And frankly, a lot of this depends on how long this goes on, right? Part of the thing, in talking about this and reviewing these issues, talking to dealers, the one word that's constant is it's fluid. Everything is fluid and can change very quickly.
Yeah, there's no question. It sounds though like dealers that I talk to, and based on what you were just sharing, is that they're in a position where they're saying, well, let's give the president a little slack here. Let's see what he can get done. If at the end of the day he's successful with all of this to level the playing field on tariffs, both in other countries and our countries and what have you, and then this is something that's really going to work out for the country. And dealers, they seem to stand behind them at this point in time. Right now, that being said, there's a 2 to 3 month supply of vehicles on lots right now. Right. So to your point, maybe when things get a little rocky, or if they get to that point, they might feel differently, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, the idea of being able to bring manufacturing back in this country and have a much more robust capacity for greater employment and all those things is certainly appealing. I mean, it's interesting. This caused me to think about, and many of us old enough who watch this now could think back to 1992 and that election of Ross Perot saying the giant sucking sound, right?
That's exactly right.
And at the time, people laughed and thought it was, the sky is falling and much ado about nothing. And,
that's right.
And here we are all these years later. And I've read a number of articles lately that reference that and say, turns out he was onto something there. So
that's right.
Something has to give. And I think dealers, again, they are weathered. If you think about it, I mean, it's not that long ago we were talking about 2008, 2009. Then we fast forward and we go through COVID. And, so this group of dealers that are active and engaged today are seasoned. They've been through things. They understand how to run their operations. And, ultimately, I think the mindset of the dealers, we're going to persevere. This too shall pass. We'll get through this and be better on the other end of it.
Yeah. What are what role do you think, or I should say, what impact do you think this will have in the minds of consumers today? Do you think they feel as though, I better run into the dealer that I want to get the car from before this tariff hits? I mean, we just came off of an incredible March, as you know, in the business. Do you think that will carry through in April, May, and June?
I think we will see some of that. I think there's going to be a bit of a push by those who are on the fence or are thinking about getting a new vehicle. This is going to give them a short-term incentive to get out there and do so quickly. So I think we will see some of that. And again, we have a few million vehicles on the ground today that will not be tariffed, that won't have those increases. So that's going to be appealing to the consumer. And I think we're already seeing that in a number of our stores both in Kentucky and throughout the country.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about what this is going to do to used car values and the used car industry that's already short of vehicles because of COVID and the lack of leasing in the last number of years. So what are you hearing from your dealers on the topic of used cars?
Yeah, again, it's amazing how much things change and how it stays the same as related to sort of that COVID timeframe, right? Where we had these shortages, and no doubt the used car market is going to be impacted by this. We're going to see those values continue to go up, and shortages and things of that nature. But again, we've navigated through these waters before.
Yeah.
Very different circumstances in that everything was in the same boat and everything was stopped, right? So this is unique from that standpoint. But I think the one thing dealers understand is how to navigate through these items and how to plan accordingly and resource that inventory. But there's no question that this is a inflationary situation as it stands to price increases both on new cars, used cars, and again, used cars already sort of having that shortage due to the leasing from years back.
Yeah, for sure. You think this will have some sort of a groundswell among consumers that now say, you know what, since this has been brought to light and we see the inequities that the president held up in the chart to say this is what all of these other countries are charging us for our products to go abroad, that you know what, consumers might feel, I'm going to buy American. I'm going to buy a Chevy over a Honda or a Toyota or a Hyundai or what have you. You think we'll see a little bit of that out there?
I do think we will see some of that because, again, the issue really, and this goes back decades and various presidents of various parties, nobody has really tackled and addressed this in the way this administration is, in really making this public and educating the public as far as what these disparities are. It really is amazing. And I think you could also make the statement that the president is already having success with this approach, in that just in the last couple of days and even since yesterday, now there are evidently over 70 countries wanting to talk about, okay, let's take a look at this disparity and see what we can do to include the EU and others. So you can argue that there's already progress being made just within the first week as far as getting to the right place where we need to be, so we have something more fair and balanced for all parties involved.
That's right. That's right. It might have been an abrupt move by the president, but it sure got the attention of every country out there, didn't it?
It absolutely did, and rightfully so. You know, again, to continue going down the same path and expecting something different to happen is the absolute definition of insanity. And the fact that we look at our Rust Belt states that spoke definitively in this past election, and you can say what you want about President Trump, whether you're for or against. The one thing you cannot say is he did not articulate what this plan was going to be when he took office. So the American voter was well aware of what the president and this administration's intention was as it related to trade and dealing with trade deficits. That was definitely on the ballot and made very clear.
Yeah, he really did. There's no question about it. I saw one article. Now, again, there's a lot of content out there on the internet, but I saw one article that said that his approval rating actually went up by 5 points. And I thought that was interesting. But again, you have to kind of consider the source and try to figure out, is this person, in the Trump camp? Are they for or against? It's crazy. All of the disinformation out there on this topic, right?
Well, and it speaks to how just fluid everything really is, right? Because it feels like I'm constantly getting breaking news updates going across my phone or whatever the case is. So it really is. You have to take some time and sort through it. And I really think that's what we're seeing unfold right now, sort of in real time, as these discussions are happening behind the scenes regularly with other countries. And, I'm confident, I'm optimistic that we're going to see progress.
Yeah. As the president of the Kentucky Auto Dealers Association, with your members watching today, what message do you have for them? What are you telling them to do, or what do you want them to do?
Well, look, the great thing about the dealers we have in Kentucky is they don't need the likes of me to tell them how to run their operations. They're great operators. They understand, what it takes to service their customers effectively and work. What I would say is stay the course, pay attention, be vigilant to all that's going on around. I would also say to my Kentucky dealers, we've had some historic flooding and weather events here over the last week. So I would encourage them to continue to be strong and support their employees and their consumers and their families and all the things that they do every day in their communities. This is a time where really everybody's coming together in this state.
Yeah, for sure. Jason Wilson, the president of the Kentucky Automobile Dealers Association, thank you so much for coming into CBT News today and sharing your perspective on this, to your point, very fluid issue of tariffs. And so everyone stay tuned to CBT News because you can be sure it's going to be changing here shortly, right?
That's right. Hey, Jim, always great being with you. Thanks so much for the opportunity to chat with you and spend time talking to the dealers.
Great. Thanks so much.
Take care.
The tariff conversation just got real, and nobody covers it like CBT News. From deep dive analysis to exclusive interviews with top voices like Senator Bernie Moreno, we've got the full picture. Want to know what's happening, what it means, and what's next? There's only one place to go: CBTnews.com.